Okay, so there's a lot of buzz right now in the political world and political realm in the gun space here in the US because the Hearing Protection Act has actually passed the House, meaning that will remove silencers from the purview of the NFA, basically essentially treating them like normal firearms, allowing them to be purchased at dealerships through 4473 transfer and background check, that kind of thing. It's got to go through the Senate still. It's got to go through the Senate and get passed there as part of the big beautiful bill, Trump's reconciliation bill, whatever they're calling it. So it still has to go through the Senate to get passed and then on to the president to be signed into law. What does it actually mean if it gets passed though? What could be the fallout or what could be the actual result if that does happen and they do remove suppressors, these things here, if they actually get removed from the NFA, what's that going to look like? That's what we're going to talk about in this video today. Thank you for joining me again. Okay, so my theory here, if this actually passes, we're closer than we've ever been in modern history to removing draconian crap from the NFA. It's an egregious, unconstitutional law. Should never even have passed, actually. But it did, it happened, okay? So suppressors are on the NFA, requiring registration, requiring $200 tax stamp, so a tax on a fundamental, basic, constitutionally guaranteed right, and all this other bullcrap, you know, preventative procedures, I guess you could say, to prevent people from actually buying the stuff. That's what it's for. That's 100%. It's all about preventing people from being able to access silencers, suppressors, whatever you want to call it. So if it actually gets passed, here's my theory. You're going to see a temporary skyrocket in prices. People are going to be gouging like crazy because it is a high demand market with low supply inventory, right? Suppressors are not made at vast quantities as so much as firearms are. There's manufacturers out there making them all the time. They just don't make them in the volumes that they do typical firearms. So supply and demand, you're going to see prices skyrocket temporarily. You're going to see a lot of shortages. That's my other kind of, just based off of industry norms and how things have gone over the last couple decades that I've been involved in the firearms industry, whether as a dealer or maker or builder or working at gun shops and stuff like that. You're going to see massive shortages. There's going to be big time supply shortages. So again, price is going to skyrocket, supply is going to go way down. Eventually though, I think we're going to start to see the secondary market open up though, because people that have these and may want to trade them or sell them or whatever, or upgrade to a different type and style, like I've wanted to for years. I have a short one right now and it's not quite fitting to what I need for most of my precision rifle stuff. I'd like a bigger can with a little more noise reduction. People that already have these things have been sitting on them for years because they're almost impossible to move once you have them. You have like no option to actually sell it to another person outside of a just absolutely ridiculous process to do so. It's stupid, it's ridiculous with dealers and the whole 9 yards and NFA, ATF paperwork, the whole nine. You gotta go through all this rigmarole just to move an item you already own to someone else, sell it to them legally and lawfully. So I think you're gonna see a big surge in the secondary market of suppressors where, you know, there's more swapping and dealing and not really gun show dealing, but like people able to actually sell their firearms through transfers to a dealer to another person fairly easily, like you would a private firearm sale. Even doing private transfers in most states is actually, well, constitutionally it's legal to privately transfer your firearm to anybody you want to and sell it to them if they're not a felon or convicted of that kind of thing. So I think you're going to see a big resurgence in the secondary market, and that can kind of fill the gap maybe of the primary market shortages and skyrocketing prices. But I do think that most people in that secondary market are probably also going to start price gouging and trying to capitalize as best they can on that supply and demand chain thing. But the third part of my theory is that within 5 years, there's going to be a big drought. It's going to be an obvious drought in the supply chain of suppressors for a little while, so price is going to be stupid. But I think within about 5 years, you're going to see a massive surplus of silencers because you're going to have all kinds of people jumping on board, dealers and makers and stuff like that that can manufacture these kind of things. Now that those NFA restrictions are removed and the stupid draconian laws and paperwork and all the associated bull crap that's with the NFA is gone and removed, you're going to see a lot more people manufacturing them. So within 5 years, we could have what is ultimately the shooter's dream in a supply chain of suppressors anywhere and everywhere of all types, size, and shape, and at decent prices again. I think the prices will come back down. I think they're going to have to. Once you flood the market with stuff, after a few years, it takes a little while for things to catch up in the gun industry, and once that flood does happen, which I believe it will, you'll have a surplus. It may take about 5 years, but you'll have a surplus, so prices will come down to a reasonable range where they really should be for these things, and given the technology in them, they're really only worth a couple $100s. They're not worth thousands of dollars. Suppressors, silencers, whatever you call them, they're not worth thousands of dollars. They're worth a few hundred at most. Even with the highest grade materials like polonium and titanium and all this, technology that goes into them, it's very simple technology. They are not worth much money. The other, I think, really beneficial thing to the community, if they are removed from the NFA, is you're going to see a resurgence of self-made suppressors, people making them at home. It is lawful to make your own firearms at home. It is 100% lawful to do so, to build yourself your own firearm. And suppressors being removed from the NFA would qualify them as firearms like any other, and it would be lawful to do so, I'm assuming. There may be some nuances to that, and you're definitely going to have some agency pushback on that, which brings me to my next point. The biggest fallout, I think, of the Hearing Protection Act passing that I don't think is being considered is the judicial fallout. The anti-gunners are going to go all in if it passes for just absolute bombardment and blanket carpet bombing with laws, regulations, pushback, confiscations, the whole 9 yards. They're going to go all in. You have to understand that. They're not going to let this go quietly. They will use what is a provenly corrupt judiciary to absolutely hammer the community, hammer the individuals, hammer anybody who exercises the right, hammer anybody who transfers. They're going to go all in. I think you're going to see a massive resurgence of government agencies pulling out all kinds of, like the ATF or whoever they get merged with, especially if they get merged with the DEA, which would be an absolutely horrendous idea. You're going to see a militant style approach to suppressors and re-regulating or controlling them. There's going to be lawsuits, there's going to be a judicial obstruction, there's going to be injunctions, there's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff if Trump actually signs this into law and the Senate passes it and Trump signs it into law. I think the political backlash alone is going to create an environment where we may think we have a big win, and we, legally it is a big win, and in the community it is a win, but I think the judicial fallout, the backlash, the agency fallout, and the political fallout, and even the social, mostly peaceful protest, whatever you want to call it, type of fallout is going to be huge for it. I think there's going to be some major pushback, some major red flag incidents or false flag incidents, that kind of thing. I think you're going to see a lot of that come up in the coming months and weeks and next year or two. And the real unfortunate part is that the second that we, the good guys, or whoever, the Republicans and conservatives, don't control the branches of the government anymore, which we don't control the judiciary at all. There's nobody that has, if you have the delusion that the judiciary is a just and constitutionally minded part of the government, you're wrong. They are complete activists. Okay, so we have activist judiciary, we have activist agencies, we have extremist activist, political sphere in the executive and the legislative. So it's not going to be as easy a transition as everybody thinks it is. So I do believe that the political backlash and fallout and the judicial backlash, fallout, and the legislative and all of that is going to be a nightmare to get through. We may get through it eventually, but the problem being, if we do get through it eventually, the next time the other team is in power, they're going to push back even harder. They're going to try for even more control. They're going to go at it from a different routes we may not even have thought of yet, to try to put these things back under control and get rid of these things for good. So where does that leave us? It leaves us at this. We've made some good progress in winning back constitutionally protected and constitutionally acknowledged rights that are ours inherently. There's a very strong chance that the silencers will be removed from the NFA. If they are, it's going to be interesting what happens over the next few years before things kind of stabilize, and maybe we actually get to spend the rest of our lives, and our kids get to spend their lives exercising this right without the bullcrap, without the anti-constitutionality of the NFA and all that stuff. So it's positive overall. I don't want to be a doomsday prophet, but it is positive overall. However, the fallout is going to have some lumps. And the supply and demand, there's going to be lumps. Those are just my thoughts. That's what I think about it. That's my theory about it. Could be completely off base on some of it, but I'm kind of a cynic when it comes to anything good actually happening with our government and sticking, because it's not been the norm, it's not been the case typically. And you know, when you have governments and agencies and individuals and branches and judiciaries and all this that are so extremely polarized and activist against rights, they're tyrannical is what it is. We have a tyrannical regime of people that are doing everything they can to disrupt, destroy, and take everything good about this nation and lie about what it actually is, lie about what the nation is and what it has been and has done that is good in history. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be some bumps. I think there's going to be some really good things that happen. I think you could see a really great, thriving market in 5 to 10 years for suppressors, and a really fruitful, you know, existence for gun owners and suppressors and all those things. So remember, the right to keep and bear arms is your fundamental right as a human being, protected by and acknowledged by the Second Amendment, which limits the government's power to take it from you. It actually prevents it. It actually denies it. All right, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this kind of stuff, comment, like, subscribe, share with your buddies. Help get the word out, and I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a blessed day.